Hello and welcome to another video. And today's video is going to be about 6 supplements. Well, 6 and a bit, you'll find out what I mean in a minute, is that can help you as a older runner recover more effectively from your runs. Now, what we will cover in this video is about how supplements can help, but we've got to be clear that supplements aren't the whole story. What you eat and what you do are the main thing. However, why I want to make this video about supplements is some people will kind of throw supplements out by saying, well, as long as you eat right, that's good enough. It's missing out the fact that our food generally, whatever type of food you eat, paleo, vegan, carnivore, whatever food religion you have, at the end of the day, the quality of our food these days isn't as good as it was 30, 40, 50 years ago. So that's the first thing. I mean, there's even situations where if you've been vegan, you've taken, say, things like vitamin B12. There's even cases now where people who eat meat are slightly vitamin B12 deficient because there isn't as much B12 in the meat as there was. Now, this is not me coming out against meat. I'm just saying that sometimes we need supplementation these days because of what's not in our foods for various reasons that are way beyond the remits of this video. Also, as an older runner, you are more likely to be deficient in certain things as well. Plus, you are a runner. So I think it's worth visiting supplementation. There is a big but though. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not an expert in this area. I'm just going to share with you what's worked for me, what I've liked. I will fully expect you to do your own due diligence. I'll leave some links below the video that you can explore and you can make a decision based off of your background, your feelings. And this is just going to be information for you. I'm in no way affiliated with anything. I'm not selling you anything. I have no skin in the game. The only skin in the game I've got is I wish to inform. Plus, if you ever wanted a running coach, I work with Butterworth of the online running coach company. And if you ever needed a running coach, then you might use me. That's about the only thing I'm selling. So these are just my points of view. You can agree or disagree, comment, or I'd love to hear them. Also, if you want to leave a like or subscribe to the channel, that would be really great as well. So with no further ado, let's get on with the first supplement. Okay, so I said 6 and a bit supplements, and this is kind of why. The first one I want to share with you isn't actually a supplement, but it's the best supplement you ever take. And that is sleep. Now I'm going to do a video actually on sleep itself, but I wanted to share it here because I really feel quite strongly that without sleep or good sleep, many supplements, just pills really. You really do need good sleep. Now, many older runners suffer with problems with their sleep. Many people suffer with their sleep, and there can be a multitude of reasons. What I'm here to sort of share with you is at least focus on trying to get that better sleep. What I mean by that is many people will, and I talk to people, they go, well, I'm a night owl. My tendency with that is to feel that that is a habit and we kind of identify with that habit. I was for many years what I called a night owl. I stayed up to 11, 12 o'clock each night. Now I go to bed about 9:30, miss one less episode of Netflix or whatever I'm watching. Some of the supplements I'm going to share with you do help with that sleep. And there's obviously many things you can do to improve your sleep, reducing stress, etc., etc. But I think one of the things that stands in people's way the most is one, not identifying it as important as it is. They do not give it, there's a macho side to not getting sleep. And I think as you get older, you've really got to understand that you need to drop that, if I can be so bold, and really get enough sleep, particularly if you're in a hard phase of training. And that probably your identification with your habits are just habits, and they can be changed and evolved over time. And the benefits to you as a runner are massive. The second kind of supplement, but not, is protein. Now, protein's vital for your recovery as a runner. And the way I like to explain it is that we're well aware that if we lift weights, that we have micro tears, and that's how the muscle builds. And people that do that are very aware of the need for protein. A lot of runners aren't so aware of that, but in some ways, in lots of ways, your running is doing the same thing. You're going out, you're doing a run, you're embarrassing your body to change. You're pushing your body in some way, and that needs to adapt. What sometimes does happen, is that your body needs to recover from that and rebuild, and then it rebuilds you stronger. You need protein to do that. And I always have some form of protein shake within the first hour that I get in. It can be a whey protein, or as I take a plant-based one, or even for some people, chocolate milk's enough. But something like that will really help. Mine is a kind of plant-based protein with a milk substitute, so a banana, and a bit of cashew nut butter. But if you don't want that many calories, just having the protein, even with water, some of the ones I've used, taste pretty good with water these days. They've really improved them. They do taste a lot better. So I think it's worth sharing those two, because if you didn't do anything else, if you got yourself decent sleep and, took to getting into a habit of taking on some protein pretty quick. I mean, it could be solid food. You could have a good meal with good protein base in it. That will suffice as well. But within that first hour, getting some good quality protein into your body, be it meat, be it whatever it is going to help you in that first hour, kind of synthesize within your body and kind of help the recovery process. And that's going to be a great start. And plus sleep, you'd be onto a great start. Everything we share after now on is just going to be building on that. Our next supplement is magnesium. Now, magnesium is an electrolyte, so that's got to be a plus. That's a great start. And 50% of adults in the US do not meet the needs of magnesium, which I think is about 400 to 420 mils a day. So that shows you that even the general population are lacking magnesium. When you consider that a runner will sweat out magnesium, then you can see that a lot of runners would probably lack magnesium, and it's more than likely that probably older runners would lack even more. Now, you're not going to know for sure unless you have some sort of blood work, but it's a reasonable assumption. Also, if you've got low levels of magnesium, you're going to have more inflammation, and more inflammation generally will mean slower recovery. We all need some inflammation. It's not like, when we say inflammation these days, everybody goes, oh, it's terrible. We all need some inflammation, but obviously you don't want too much. That will slow down recovery. So overall, magnesium is a really good supplement to take generally. I take a magnesium complex. It's got about 8 different magnesiums, and magnesium chelate. I can't remember. Pronounce these. Tarate, all of them. They all have slightly different benefits. As I said at the beginning of the video, do your due diligence. I'm just lazy. I go for the complex. Pop a couple of these before I go to sleep, because magnesium tends to help you with your sleep. Downsides of magnesium, some people find if they apply it to the skin, it, like a lotion, it can make the skin itch. Like things like Epsom salts have got magnesium. That's why they've been long loved by runners. Some people find that taking magnesium can upset their stomach. I've never personally felt that. So magnesium, a really good, solid supplement to take. And I think you've got a 50% chance, if you're in the average population with an average diet, that you're probably light on magnesium. And, that's going to mean that, that you're not having the best shot at recovery. And I think just for general health, having magnesium in your supplement stack isn't a bad thing at all. Now, this is an unusual supplement, iron, because I'm not actually going to ask you to take the supplement, because I really think that you should get your iron levels checked out. And if you've got low iron levels, it should be something you do with a physician, because it's a bit of a Goldilocks situation. Too low iron levels are going to create fatigue, going to make you feel run down, and a lot of runners suffer with low iron levels because they have a thing called foot strike hemolysis. It's HEMOLYSIS, and that can reduce iron levels as well. Added to that, if you're on some medications, that can create iron deficiencies, and age is a very strong likelihood that older runners do suffer with some sort of iron deficiency. It's up to 56% of the US population have some sort of iron deficiency. So it's something that you can get blood work done. I'm actually going to do a internet test kit, and I'm going to do a video on it and see what my levels are for different things. But even if you found they were low, it's something that you should really work with a doctor on, because they can start with your base amount, make sure they build it up. Because the trouble is, you don't excrete iron, you don't urinate it out, or so if your levels get too high, the body can't get rid of it. And the trouble is, if your levels get too high, it's as bad as almost having them too low. So it's not a supplement, so to speak, but it's important because so many runners lack iron. And there was a stat that I read the other week that in a 2K time trial with people that lacked iron, had iron deficiency, they were 21 seconds slower than those without an iron deficiency. Now, if you kind of compound that up to a 5K, a 10K, half marathon or marathon, you can start to see how iron deficiency would have a huge impact on your performance and recovery. So that's the reason I add it into this video, so that if you're feeling run down or there are signs that you lack iron, then that is well worth getting checked out, because that could have massive ramifications, not only on your running, but your overall well-being as well. Vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is well known, but I'm putting it up here because it's a hormone. It helps with bone strength. It helps with your immune system. So it's really, really powerful. And with K2, it helps make sure that the K2 helps make sure that the calcium goes within the bones and not elsewhere, say like your arteries. So that's why when you sometimes see K2 on it, that's what that is. The main thing I'd say with this is I think it's really powerful for the immune system. I live in the UK, and as today, I don't think there's been a sun. And I always joke with my wife that in the UK, how do the germs know it's winter? Because we have less colds, we have less everything in the summer, and suddenly winter comes and people start getting ill. How do germs know that? Of course they don't. Our immune systems drop. And I feel, not medically trained to say this, but I feel a lack of vitamin D is one of the major reasons for this, particularly in areas where there is low levels of sunshine. Also, where you're working indoors, you're not getting that level. Now, my bugbear, why I share vitamin D, apart from the fact it's a great, it helps with your immunity and the strength of your bones, which that's going to help you as an older runner. I share it, excuse me, I share it as well. And this is just my opinion, is sometimes you get recommended, there's a high tolerance to vitamin D for most people. And the kind of levels that are shared, definitely within the UK, are so low. I mean, we don't get a lot of sunlight, which is where you get most of your vitamin D from. And I take 4,000 IUs a day. Now, you can easily, within the UK anyway, take 10,000. And I think if you research it, you'll find that's well within safe limits. There is a lot of people that take significantly less than even 2,000. I think if you're in an area where there's little sun, as I say, do your due diligence. But I would say, generally speaking, that you could take well beyond what most people recommend, 2,000. I take 4,000 a day. And if it's particularly dark or I feel my immune system's being particularly compromised, I'll take a couple of these, which is up to 8,000 a day. Now, as I said right at the beginning of the video, you've got to do your due diligence. You've got to look at this as scientifically as you want. What I will say is vitamin D with K2 is pretty much a no-brainer for me for the benefits, and there's very, very little scientifically proven to be very many downsides. And where we all work inside or stay inside more, we're mostly, a lot of us in countries where we get very little sunlight. This is a really good supplement to have in your supplement stack. But like I say, on levels, to have the amount you take, you've got to be comfortable with. You've obviously, if in doubt, check with your doctor. What most doctors will be saying is significantly lower than I'm saying. I've never had no problem with going slightly higher. It's something worth looking at because I think it's a really, really underrated supplement. And the reason it's underrated, I feel, is it's cheap. And cheap doesn't make people a lot of money. As I said earlier, I'm not affiliated with anything, but if I was, I wouldn't be making a lot of money out of telling you about vitamin D. and you know, the kind of pharmaceuticals aren't going to make a lot of money making vitamin D. I don't want to get into any conspiracy theories. I'm just pointing out the obvious here, that sometimes something that's really effective and simple can be right in front of us, but it perhaps doesn't always get the press that it should. And the reason it doesn't always get that press is there isn't a lot of revenue in it, so people don't spend a lot of time on it. So vitamin D, if you're not taking it, well worth exploring. Another little supplement I have is something called Fizz. Now, there's plenty of alternatives to this. You don't have to use this particular one. PHIZZ. Well, I take this because I've often got up in the morning and just got myself a glass of water. Start the day, hydrate. We're made up of 90% water. Get some water into you. You've been hydrated. What I started doing was taking 1 tab of this in the morning. It's got things like potassium, magnesium, B6, B1, B2, folic acid, and B12. And I think, like I mentioned earlier in the video, B12 is one that does pop up. It's always been very trendy and quite correct to say that vegans need B12. It's present in meat. What people don't always understand is how it gets into meat is via cattle grazing or animals grazing, and the B12 actually comes from the soil. Because of the way many animals are farmed now, some animals don't have as much B12 in them, and we eat the animals and we haven't got as much B12. So don't assume that you always have enough B12. I know my daughter had low B12 levels and she eats a very varied diet, plenty of good meat, plenty of good food, but it's not always the case. So getting something in like a multivitamin like this, I found really, really useful. It's really quick. I'm getting ready to go out in the morning. I put one in. It's hydration as well, but it has all these kind of like magnesium, B6, B1, B2, folic acid in there, and it's kind of hits a lot of things in one go. So I always utilize something like this as well. So it's well worth looking at. There's plenty of variations in different companies that do this, but it's well worth looking at as well. There are 2 supplements here. These are kind of outliers. These are things that I'm starting to use, and they are more controversial. Hyaluronic acid and collagen peptide. Hyaluronic acid. L'Oreal, you would have heard them going on about that, hyaluronic acid and collagen peptides. Now, a lot of these you will see mainly to kind of reduce wrinkles and make you look more beautiful. And whilst I'm sure us older runners would love to be running our marathons looking 20 years younger, it's not the reason I share them with you. I'm not going to go into too deep into the science with this, but collagen is the main protein in your body, and collagen reduces as you get older. And that's a fact. We all know that. We all end up with more wrinkles. Now, of course, that's why a lot of people take collagen peptides, but it's also tissue repair. And I think this is why I started taking it as something a little bit left field. If I end up looking more lovely, then that's great. But it's been well researched that it's pretty safe, and it's been proven to help with things like less wrinkles, and so it obviously helps with your skin. And of course, if that's helping you with your skin, it's helping you, in my way of looking at it, recover more, better from runs. If the tissue of my body is actually having a better chance of recovering more quickly. Hyaluronic acid is like a lubrication. So it's, yet again, there's been research done with injections within it. There are some kind of research around it, pluses and minuses, but it's something that is worth looking at. From, yet again, it's kind of like, if you like, the oil of the body. And so, yet again, it's something that is reduced sort of as it goes on. The only thing I would say with hyaluronic acid, take it as, I think they call it heavyweight hyaluronic acid, is the better one to take. But it's, yet again, these are probably, I wouldn't put these at the top of the list. They're things that, if you are more experimental in your thinking, willing to go out there a little bit and try something a bit different, are willing to, or perhaps you have issues perhaps with, the way the collagen, the way your skin is, or, that you're finding your body a bit more creaky, then, collagen peptides or hyaluronic acid will be something to explore. And like I've said a few times through this video, obviously do your due diligence, do your research. I will leave some links that you can go into more detail and do your due diligence, but it is something worth actually looking at. Okay, so that's it. I just want to really thank you for watching the video, and just to reiterate that I've said many times, but really is worth doing your own due diligence on this, because there is so much conflicting thoughts and advice on it. And I just wanted to actually just say something about the pure hyaluronic acid. You should use probably a high molecule weight one. That is, from what I've looked at, is the best type to actually use for, the sort of things that you'll need, the quality that you require. But hope you've enjoyed the video. As I say, really interested to see your comments and things you agree or disagree with. Just remember some of the basics as well. Vitamin B12 and good old omega-3 as well. Haven't even covered those, but they're great as well. There are so many things. And of course, to finish, yes, diet is primary, sleep is primary. But these are supplementations. But like I said right at the beginning of the video, I think supplementation is becoming more refined, more important as our diets change. Also, as the quality of our food in the food cycle changes, and as we age as runners and as athletes, supplementation shouldn't be just thrown out because it's got kind of a bad rap over the years. And I think the reason it's got a bad rap, I think there's a lot of money involved in it. So that's why I do say do your due diligence. It can be a bit of a rabbit hole, and it is a sort of something to try yourself, see what works for you. And of course, if in doubt, look at talking to your doctor. And of course, your tolerance to risk should be taken into account. So, if you're fairly cautious, try the kind of supplements I mentioned earlier on in the video, the ones that you've probably heard of, maybe being reminded of. If you are looking a little bit further down the rabbit hole, then things like hyaluronic acid or collagen peptides, could give you that edge of recovery, but they are more kind of left field, and they are something that is more kind of not risky, but definitely more kind of less researched than, say, something like vitamin D. So do your own due diligence. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like it or subscribe to the channel, and I welcome any comments. Bye for now.